Hello and welcome. Rahul, you're watching me on my YouTube channel of my talks, and if you're watching me consistently, welcome back to my channel. See, whenever I come in front of you, I have a purpose. I want to disseminate some positive knowledge, and instill and fuse jubilant energy so that you can feel each and every time motivated. And if you are motivated, if your self-confidence is high, you can be apt for any opportunity because you will be honing your skills, you will be acquiring and assimilating more knowledge, and that is what will propel you and make you efficient enough to grab and clinch any opportunity that will come in your way. That is what is the importance of learning something beautiful, something each and every day. But sometimes I try to impart such knowledge, which relates to metaphysical reality, and I talk about overall development. So that is why it is essential and important that we learn and we ensure exactly what are the pillars of life, what are important, in everyone's life, inculcating which we can transform our life, and beyond life. If you really want to see and visualize exactly where you want to stay, in your lane or out of lane, or do you want to exist for a longer period of time? Because you see, whenever you grow, along with time you acquire some experience, and after some experience you feel that something beyond some metaphysical reality do exist, that is called a spiritual realm, and that is what you feel. But what is the reality, when you imbibe, all the personalities of a spiritual person, who are really going along with his spiritual journey. And once you reflect it in your 3D world, in your physical reality, in your physical body, that is what is the embodiment, and it is quite difficult, if you can see all the spiritual warfare and whatever happens in that very domain, you will perceive that how much it is important and how you have to anchor your life in such a beautiful way that your physical life, your spiritual life, both goes in a balanced way, and you can claim exactly the right abundance, not only in physical 3D world but also in a spiritual reality. How you can embody that, because many people know that spiritual warfare is real for them, and if you will talk to them they will feel that. Just take an example of 3D world, physical reality. If you have money, everybody comes near you, everybody try to give you that reverence and that accolade that you crave. But if you don't have money, sometimes you have to bend in such a way that your moral and virtues will not be relatable to your financial needs. That will be crumbling enough, that will be desolate, that will be so destituting, that it will make you a broken personality altogether. That is what is the need of financial abundance in this physical 3D world, that we have conditioned in our world in such a monetary values and financial abundance, that if you don't have and if you cannot have find means, you cannot survive here. Nobody is going to talk about you, nobody is going to look after you. Whatever pain you are going through, only you will bear, and only you will know its intense, and its magnitude. Otherwise nobody else is going to bear that pain for you. So what remains there, that is what is the reality. That reality also, somewhat, if you juxtapose, the same reality exists in the spiritual world. In spiritual warfare, if you are not intact, if you are not someone who cannot bear, who cannot have patience, that you will also suffer there. And if you suffer in the spiritual realm, your long term, your life beyond reality will be affected. And sometimes spiritual, if you're intact spiritually, that will just reflect in your personal 3D life. You'll be able to live in a better way in physical reality, in physical body as well. You'll be all time, you'll be high in energy, and you'll be perceiving altogether what is reality, because your perception will work, your cognitive and rational reality and rational thinking will certainly be developed in such a way that you can justify each and everything whatever is happening in your life, and how you want to take course of your life, in which direction, it will be in your hand. That is what is the reality. The spiritual warfare is such intense, if you cannot control there, if you can't stand there for a longer period of time, for a war, this is a war of eons. The history, whatever is coming all together, and the future that is going to unfold, and your present reality, all is connected to your spiritual reality, and that reflects also in your present. So that's why your present physical reality is also connected to that. That is why I've already tell you that if you really want to exist in a better way, you have to fight for your spiritual reality altogether. And these are the subtle realms. You have to perceive, you have to be awakened, you have to be aware all the time what is happening around you, and you have to justify your virtues, your morals, what kind of actions you are going to take, how you live, how you behave to others, how you make them feel. This all together matters. Sometimes you may feel that you need solitude, you need reclusive time, and solitude you want to live. But that doesn't mean that you'll be all together, isolating yourself, and you cannot live. We live in a society, and that is where society, and we are also a social animal. That is what justifies our reality and our existence. So each and every time, whenever you will approach others, you will have to mend your ways. You know exactly what kind of actions you take, and if you will give, many people say even in the money is the reflection of that. Whatever work you do to others, it comes in your bank account, and that is the same thing is the reality of a spiritual world. Your karma, and that is why virtues are important. Many people, when you grow and when you pass your 35 and 40, you will see that most of the people have compromised because matrix has debilitated them, and they were not able to fight again. So choose they chose vices, and their paradigm developed on that. And again, whatever the work they do, whatever they face, whatever actions they take, those all are guided by their own paradigm that they have developed, in late 20s or after 15. So sometimes it comes all together from your childhood. So such why such that they are developed such kind of paradigm, and that is what guide them. So that is why I would like to tell you that if you really want to ascend, you have to leave the vices, and you have to adapt virtues altogether. Every time, when someone else will come across you whose virtues are high, whose spiritual energy is high, they will bring a catalytic change in your body, in your mind, in your paradigm, in your spiritual reality, and you have to accept that way time. You have to change yourself in order to be that very person which you have killed it within yourself. That is what you have to nurture, you have to become. Otherwise it will be difficult for you to face that light when they will be brightly coming in front of you, and they will be shining like a star in front of you, and they will be showing all your wounds, all your darkness. That is what you will confront them, and you will again do the same mistake. You will lambast on that very light spiritual personality. That is what is happening in our 3D world, because 3D world has been dense from a long time, and most of the spiritual workers who have been having light quality, they have been persecuted here. That is what you have to recognize. But if you really want to change your world and bring better scientific revelations even, you have to mend your ways. You have to give reference and accolades to all those spiritual people and light bearers who have made a change through their bearing, through their thousands of times they have been rebuked, they have been cursed, they have been persecuted. But after all that bearing, after all that agony, even then they executed, and they walked their path, and they made this world, they impacted this world. And if you will be able to recognize your own inner demon and bring light within that, then half of the work is done there. That is why we advocate, that is why we come in front of you, how you should behave. You should not react in other ways. You should try to ascertain exactly what kind of light another person is bearing. If he has intelligence, if he has extraordinary personality, we can be like him. We can also work towards that. We can give that reverence and that accolade that which way he desires. Even if he doesn't desire, we should certainly walk his path. We should certainly mind his words, and we should bring light to his words. Let it prevail, in society, so that light can bring a light in this world. That is what we have to understand. Thank you for listening to me.